Welcome to Breaking Solo, how solopreneurs break barriers, build brands, and embrace the future of business.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Breaking Solo. I'm very excited today. My guest is Tami Murphy, and I'm very excited for our conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Tami.
Me too. Hi, Donna. Thank you.
So, Tami, tell the audience who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, obviously, I'm Tami. You introduced me, Tami Murphy. All right, I'm going to explain it this way. You know how when all of us start a business, we have this vision of what our life is going to look like as business owners. And then as we get into growing our business, we get busier and busier and we get stuck in that daily grind of the tasks. And that vision we had of what life we're building gets kind of put to the back seat. So my role with my clients is to bring that forefront and work with them so they can eventually achieve the business life they wanted. Which is the original, reason why we all decide, hey, let me go into business. So it's really fun because I get to work with them in a variety of ways to do that. Because to have that business life, you obviously have to have a strong foundation to your business. You have to be financially sound because part of that process is you're going to have to delegate, right? You're going to have a team, whether that team is subcontractors or employees, but you've got to have a team to delegate to. And to get to that point, we work on anything from sales, marketing, their product offerings. What are their profit margins? What are their operations like? So where are you struggling? What are your goals for each of those areas? And how do we get you to create the plan to get those goals and make eventually your vision of your business life like a reality?
That's awesome. And
It's fun.
that,
It's fun.
yeah, fun and probably also challenging at times.
Oh, yes, it is because no kidding. I mean, I'm a business owner. I get it. Um, you do get stuck in the daily things and you always, all that gets put to the back seat. But it is my job to keep it forefront, to keep us a plan, to keep accountability, to keep us moving forward. And predominantly I work with people in the toy and game industry, which is again, a fun industry, right? We're all about play. We're all about board games and card games and toys and building and creating. So in that sense, the products we're dealing with and the companies I'm dealing with and the services others provide to those companies is fun, but it's still a business and it still needs tending to. And so, yeah, it gets challenging, but rewarding because when you actually have the business life you want, you are free to, in your business, why, like I always ask, what is the one thing that brings you energy when you're working on your business? Why did you even go into business by yourself? What's the energy that you want to feed on that gives you joy and keeps you going every day? And for some people, it could be running the operations, doing all the financial analysis, doing the content, and others, they don't want any part of that, but they're stuck doing it all the time, which makes business day to day, it makes it a grind. There's a reason it's called the
Yeah.
grind, right? And because if you're doing things that don't bring you energy and fulfillment, then you're feeling trapped in your business. And gosh, no one should feel trapped in their business, right?
Right.
You
Right.
want to do what feeds you energy wise in your soul.
Okay, so that leads me to my first question, which is what led you to going into business solo?
Okay. Well, I think like a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, but people who own their own businesses, I spent years like dreaming about it and just talking about it like as if it would, not knowing if it would ever happen, right? In our industry, we have a lot of trade shows. And so I travel a lot. And at the end of the day, sit with whether it was a coworker or a friend in the industry, a network person, and we'd sit over a beer or a glass of wine and go, "Oh, someday when I own my own business," and like do that daydreaming. And I did that for years. And fast forward to post COVID. So I'm in the beginning of my third year in business. And the company I worked for, which we oversaw manufacturing of games overseas. And so I learned a lot about the manufacturing. Is one of my many roles in this industry, but it was great because I got to learn that side of the business. But in that company, I was on the leadership team and we were running Traction by let's see, Wickman. Is that right? It's something like that. So someone will correct me if I'm wrong. We were running Traction, and we knew the ripple effect that backlash of COVID that happened to our company. We had to do some structural changes to the business, and that got me thinking. I am an empty nester. I had just had a birthday, and I was like, if I don't do it now, when am I ever going to start my own business? And I have to take the risk. Otherwise, I'll just always wonder, what if? So
Yeah.
I went to my boss and I went to actually the other people on the leadership committee and I said, hey, I think we can write me out of the business and I'm going to go start my own business, working with people, other companies and helping them, scale their businesses. And I had a great boss and he was so great about it and tried to talk me out of it, much to his credit, but I said no. And then he gave me a ramp to like slow down my work with them while I ramped up my own work. So I didn't go
Nice.
cold turkey, right? It was great. I got to keep insurance. I had a regular paycheck and it gave me kind of the I don't want a safety net, I guess, or just the comfort
Yeah.
of knowing something was there. So that's how it all started.
That is amazing because that gave you the confidence to move forward without having the same fear
Right.
of it all
Right.
crashing around you.
Right. Well, and I knew, again, because we were empty nesters, we had just downsized, from the big house with all the kids in the backyard and everything to a condo. My husband was, he was supportive, if not reluctant and worried, but we knew we could live on one salary if we really put ourselves on a tight budget.
Yeah.
And the insurance, yeah, I carried the insurance. So now he was carrying the insurance. So, it all just worked and it did give me the confidence and the safety net to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Okay, so what's been your biggest challenge in your solopreneur journey thus
Oh
far?
gosh. Yeah, thus far. You know, I think it's working alone. Not in an office where you have other people around that you can feed on their energy, that you can brainstorm, that you can just blow off steam. You work alone. It means, and I still travel to all these trade shows, that I used to go to. Not as many, but I still do a lot of traveling and I'm always alone. And so I think
Mhm.
that is really a challenge. Like when I first met you, I was traveling alone. I was going somewhere where I knew no one. At least in our network, when I go to an industry event, I know eventually I'm going to see someone I know and I can make some plans for breakfast and dinner and everything. But at the end of the day, I'm going back to the hotel by myself. I'm not going back with a team sitting at the bar in the lobby until we all say goodnight. So I think being alone and not having people to interact with is probably, I'd say, my biggest challenge as a solopreneur.
Yeah. So some people do really well. Like, I don't mind being alone, but there are times when I just need to have human
Yeah,
connection,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, that can be, ugh.
Lonely.
Yeah, exactly. So you figured out your unique niche because of the industry you came from.
Correct, correct. Yeah, I spent the last 20 years in the toy and game industry. So that's obviously where my network is. I have discovered that there are truths of business, whether you are in one service provider to a consumer goods company. There are a lot of crossovers that remain true, especially when you're talking about a business owner wanting the life that they envisioned and getting them to think about that, because a lot of us don't, right? We don't sit and take the time to say, but ultimately, what do I want? You might want to grow your business to the point where, you can sell it for a good profit and you're willing to work 12-hour days, 6, 7 days a week. That might be your dream. Your dream might be to meet your kids at the school bus at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and spend the rest of the day with them. There's no right or wrong answer. It's your personal, like what feeds you? What do you want? So yeah. So anyway, to answer your question, I did kind of fall into the niche, and I fell into the toy industry quite by accident. And it's got its claws into me, and I just love it. I just love the value of play and what it brings to human life.
That's awesome. So, what strategies do you use to differentiate yourself from your competitors in the gaming industry or toy
So
industry?
yeah, I think in the beginning it's evolved. So in the beginning, I wasn't different from my competitors, right? I offered the same service, and hopefully, one of us would get the business, and hopefully most other people get this experience. My industry is very friendly. We all play nice in the sandbox with each other for the most part. So, I know who my competitors are and talk to them, and when I started my own business, talk to them, and we see each other at trade shows, and so, and if we can't take on a client or it's not a right fit, we would send it to someone else to talk to them about it. So from that standpoint, I did nothing. But what I quickly discovered is, if I wanted to scale my business and have the life I envisioned, I couldn't do exactly what they did. So I decided, which was more sales management, sales strategy, all that kind of work. That's where I started. But I quickly evolved to more coaching, planning, setting goals, and planning how we're going to reach those goals. Um, and I took, Business Made Simple. I became a certified coach under the Business Made Simple. I then became a story brand coach. I just started educating myself on a lot of different things and having a different outlook, and starting that way, and evolved how I worked with my clients to the point where, you know, I I look at it differently. I work with them and eventually hope that we reach their goals and they grow out of me, if you will. Right? And nothing makes me happier than someone would say, "Hey, I think our work here is done." Even happier if they say, "I have a new project though." Like, that's great too. But
Right.
I didn't want to provide a service where I was long term working on the same thing year after year after year after year for someone else, because that was no different than what I did when
Mm,
I worked
job.
for a game company, right? Yeah. And I wanted to bring value to business owners and have them really look at the business as a whole, because of my background, I'm the jack of all trades, right? Because when you're a startup, you do everything. So I learned the business as doing all these things in a small company that was growing. And in my own mind, I can't extricate, the products from sales, from marketing, and messaging. We talk a lot about messaging and where it fits in the entire thing. So when someone asks me to work on sales, I invariably start talking about, well, what is your profit margin? Well, talk to me about your manufacturing, or talk to me about what trade shows you go to. Talk to me about what your hurdles for this or that, and what's your messaging, what's your product look like, what does your packaging look like, what about operations, what's your warehouse doing? And they're like, we didn't like that's not what we started talking about. I'm like, but
But it's all connected.
it's all like connected, and if you don't talk about it all, so I wanted to really give a holistic approach, because that's how I think, and I can't be different than I am.
Right. Well, that's good. Your clients are lucky to have somebody that has that kind of thinking process because you don't leave something on the table.
Right, right. Well, thank you for saying that. I hope they agree. I think they do. So, and saying the difficult things and asking the difficult questions, which, is that's the job, right? Is making everybody think and envision and start to plan to make that vision come true and then holding people accountable. Because accountability, you can make all the plans in the world, but if you don't put deadlines on calendars and make accountability part of it, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't we all know that? So,
All too well. Personal
yeah,
experience.
exactly. So, how do you stay ahead of trends and adapt your business accordingly?
All right. So now I'm going to tell you a funny part because I'm going to go back on completely what I said. How I
Okay.
stay on top of trends. First of all, I do a lot of reading, right? I have my daily grind, not my daily grind, my daily habits, which include reading first thing in the morning and later in the evening. But I do have one client that I really break away from, like how I work with my other clients and get in the weeds. I mean, I'm completely in the weeds because I feel like a lot of times when you don't work in the minutia of an industry, you miss things that are happening. You don't catch on. And as a business coach, my 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 questions, my advice, the conversations we would have would get outdated very quickly, and people who were in the weeds would go, but that's not how it really works anymore, or you're not speaking to my reality. So I do have one client who I really spend a lot of time in the weeds with, so I get to see what's happening on the ground level.
That's good.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, I just don't want to do it for everybody.
Right. Okay, tell me what's one tool, app, or resource that you absolutely can't live
Mm,
without in your business?
my calendar. I can't live without my calendar. And I can't
Is it
live
paper
with
or digital?
it's digital.
Okay.
It's digital. I can't, well, I guess there's 2 tools. I'll list them both. Um, because I work with so many different things and I do so many, I have clients with different projects and we work on multiple things for each client, that if I don't have my calendar marked, and what I do, and I will say I've been perfecting this in the last 6 months, is I have a block of 2 to 3 hours every morning that I turn off my phone. I got no text. My email is shut down. I do nothing. And actually, I don't even look at my emails for the day until this happens. I have 3 things that I know at the end of the day, if I haven't worked on them, I'm going to look back at my day and say, you weren't as productive as you should have been. You needed to get this stuff worked on. So those 3 things, when I'm at my best early in the morning, I work on, and they're in my calendar, and nothing, it's blocked off. Nothing gets in unless it's like hot, hot, hot. And then I just schedule in working on projects, and I work on one project at a time, and I do not bounce. I used to be a bouncer. I was like a pinball machine, right? I'd work on that, but I'd hear something bing, so I'd go check to see what email I got for which client, and then I'd answer that, and then I'd go back to that project. And I just, it was not a good use of my time, and I was not as productive as I could have been. So I'd say my calendar, and to go with that would be my notebook. I don't know if I have it here. I could hold it. Whoops, I have the screen. I have a notebook and it sits on beside, and that has the 3 things that day that I have to work on. And then it also has an ongoing task list that I have to do. The 3 things are the daily tasks that have to be done. And then I just start checking off, after those are done, all the other things on the list, which is never ending. Right. But without
Right.
those 2 things, and they tie together, without those 2 things, I am dead in the water.
That's good that you know that, though, because that means that you stay focused on it.
Right. Well, the best lessons learned are the ones learned the hard way. And so after too many days of going, I just worked a 10-hour day. What did I do? You know, you
Yeah,
figure it out.
right. Okay, so how do you manage work-life balance, if there is such a thing?
There is sometimes, right? It's a fluid situation. So what I do, um, actually, my husband has a home office also. So I'm on the upper floor, he's in the basement, and there's an empty floor in between us, which is where the living space is, right? And I will hear him down there starting to make lunch, and I go down and have lunch with my husband every day. And we have lunch and we talk, which I really love. That started early this year. Like it used to be, I'd hear him and I'd just keep working, and and now I intentionally go and have lunch with him. And then I will not work longer than 30 minutes to an hour longer than he will. And I go down and we have an evening together. I may sometimes have to say, hey, I have to do another hour's worth of work because I didn't finish up what I had to do, and that's fine. And I will do it while sitting in our living room. But I think that's how I do it. And we just schedule time. The other thing I do is every Friday morning, I have a time block that I can have coffee with friends. I go and I will make sure I have coffee with friends, or if I have people locally who are in our industry, I will schedule coffee with one of them, and I get out of the house and I go see people in person, and that's on Fridays, and I leave that for myself too.
Awesome. Those are good things. Pay attention, listeners, because those are good things that you should be doing.
Yeah, well, you have to feed your own energy. If you work all the time, like most of us, some people can do it. Like if you ever meet someone who thrives on working like extensively long hours day after day, it's impressive, but that is not me, and I know that. So I need to feed myself with others.
That's good. Good energy.
Yeah.
Okay. What's one piece of advice that you'd give someone that's just thinking about starting their solopreneur journey?
Okay. Can I give two pieces of advice?
Of
One
course you
is
can.
one that someone gave me, and it was funny because she said, I'm going to tell you this, and you're going to start doing it, and then you're going to stop doing it. And she was right. So the one thing I didn't leave time in my calendar was for networking. When you work at home, or you even in any industry, you have to leave time to connect with the people in your network. And you don't have to connect once a week or everything. You can, say once every quarter, I'm going to reach out to this person, or once, twice a year, whatever the case may be. But put it on your calendar, be intentional with reaching out. And she was right. When I started my business, I was really good at it. And then as I got clients and got busier, it just fell off the wayside. And so now I am working that back into my schedule. So I would say, if anyone out there listening, don't do what I did. Don't. And the other part of that is really a tie-in is I got so busy working for someone else that I forgot networking as part of my business. And so I treat my business as if I am one of my clients. And I'm on my calendar, I'm on my schedule, and I'm on those three things that I have to do every day. One of those tasks is always for me and for Tamic Strategies. So I am one of my top customers, and I treat myself like that. And it has made a difference.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really awesome. Okay. Do you have anything exciting coming up that you'd like to share with the audience?
Do actually. I
Yay.
have a client, and so I think this will probably be published after this happens, so I can reveal, hopefully. So I've been working for several months with a startup. They haven't launched publicly yet. We have got their foundation going, and next Monday, on January 12th, they're going public. And they're their first industry trade show at the Atlanta Gift Show, and I am super excited about it. It's a company called Bippets, and it's 3D toys. And they are actually local to me, which I love because all my clients are far away. And I have a client now who is 25 minutes from me, so I can drive over and meet with them. And we are launching, and we've been very quiet about our planning and getting all the foundation set, but we are going public January 12th, and it's really exciting.
That's awesome. Good for
Yeah.
you. Good for them. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, where can people connect with you and learn more about what you do?
LinkedIn is probably the best place. Tami Murphy, Tami Murphy. It's general spelling of Murphy.
All right. Perfect. I mean, thank you so much for being with me today. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Thanks, Donna. Yeah, thank you. This
Um,
was fun. Not stressful
yeah,
at all. I was a little nervous in the beginning, I told you, and I was like, oh, but this has been fabulous.
yeah, good. Good, good, good. I like to hear that. So, audience, if you have not liked or shared a review or subscribed, please do so. We would appreciate it. And just as a reminder, we recently launched publishtoprofitcourse.com. If you're considering writing a book or you've ever considered it, it will walk you through step by step how to do that process. All right, everybody, thank you so much. See you next time.